Greetings. This is the one you've known as Jesus the Christ. Mercy is not a word people use much these days, but mercy is at the core of my teachings. Mercy is related to forgiveness. People who've done something wrong often plead for mercy from those they've harmed. What does that mean? They're pleading for understanding, for empathy, for compassion, and for forgiveness. They're pleading, walk a mile in my moccasins. They're saying, I'm really no different from you. This could be you in my situation. I'm a human being just like you. There's great wisdom in realizing that you're not that different from each other. This was my meaning in saying, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. Human beings are more similar than they're different. Human beings are deeply shaped by the ego, and the ego is not easily overcome. The ego is instinctual behavior, and it's selfish behavior. If you follow it, and everyone does, you'll hurt others, you'll hurt yourself, and you'll experience misery. This is an important point in the saving grace of the ego. When you hurt others, you also hurt yourself. It's impossible for this to be otherwise. Those acting out of ego are hurting others, but they're also hurting as they're doing so. It hurts to hurt others. It hurts to be ego-identified. Compassion flows from knowing this. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They're caught, helpless in the face of their own ego, in the face of their own suffering. They're suffering, and so they cause suffering to others. They're ignorant, unaware of the possibility of behaving differently in their situation. They know not. This is the human condition and the human dilemma, which religion has certainly tried to remedy. But how can religion, which itself has not escaped the ego, hope to help its followers do so? How does the suffering end? What can be done? It would be a tragedy indeed if there were no remedy, no alternative to the ego. You would fight and kill each other to the death. But you don't, because there's something else at your core, something more central to your nature than the ego. The ego is your default, but your true nature is more powerful than the ego, and your true nature is good. It's the goodness inside of you. It's what hurts when you hurt others. Some people have learned to repress this hurt and disavow their goodness, but they can never really succeed. If their own goodness doesn't eventually get them to change their behavior, then the goodness of others undoubtedly will. Offenders need mercy. They need to be treated with kindness rather than harshness. Only kindness will heal their unkindness. Only kindness will get them in touch with their innate goodness. Suffering and the ego go hand in hand, and this is humanity's saving grace. Suffering is the wake-up call that wakes people up to who they really are. Without suffering, there would be little motivation to change one's behavior, to stop doing the ego's bidding. But since people are programmed to avoid suffering and seek pleasure or happiness, the fact that the ego causes suffering is bound to lead to its own demise. Suffering is ultimately the undoing of the ego, although it can take a great deal of suffering before people realize the cause of their suffering and the remedy. That this isn't so obvious is certainly humanity's cross to bear. Nevertheless, much is learned which otherwise would not be learned by those entrapped in the egoic state of consciousness. To have a human experience is to have the experience of an ego, and you're meant to have such an experience until you're done with that. The great good fortune, the mercy in life, is that there comes a time when you're done needing to experience life as your ego experiences it. Mercy is the recognition that every human being is flawed, but it's also the recognition that you are divine, that you're capable of and deserving of mercy. You're capable of and deserving of compassion and love. Yes, human beings can behave terribly, but it's equally true that they can behave with great courage, love, and compassion. Within you are both potentials. Everyone has both potentials within them. Mercy comes from the recognition that you are both self-serving and altruistic, that both exist within you, and that these are continually at odds. No one is entirely lost to the ego, nor is anyone entirely divine in their actions. Either possibility is a potential in any moment in everyone. What will win out? Your ability to control your egoic impulses strengthens as you evolve, but egoic impulses never fully disappear. They always exist in potential, and under stress or other challenging circumstances, the ego may still prevail, even in the most evolved person. Is this so surprising? Have you not seen this in gurus and others who claim spiritual mastery? Stories of the failings of spiritual masters are more common than the opposite. There is yet to be a perfected human being. No one is a saint. Many strive for sainthood, but no one ever attains it. Then again, there are many on the spiritual path who are not even striving for sainthood. To them, that's a useless goal, nothing more than more conditioned beliefs about how people should behave. Do morals matter at all? When you see so many spiritual masters behaving as dishonorably as they do, it would be easy to conclude that enlightenment has nothing to do with moral behavior, and that perhaps the enlightened are beyond moral and immoral. It can feel that way to the enlightened. However, as long as you are operating within society, morality does matter, even for a guru. Morality is necessary within society, so there are laws, rules, and moral standards, which for the most part have served human beings. There comes a time in your evolution when such rules are not needed to shape your behavior, since your own divine nature is shaping it, and that behavior naturally conforms to most of society's laws and rules. This would describe the fully enlightened individual. However, those who are still highly influenced by the ego need laws, rules, and moral guidelines. Without them, their ego would be emboldened to do whatever it was inclined to do, and you would have a lawless and cruel world, much more cruel than the world you currently live in. There are worlds like this where the ego and self-interest rule, but these are not happy places. They are hell, a hell of the ego's own making. But even in these places, a light glimmers inside each person, however tiny that light might be, pointing to another possibility. That light, that spark of divinity, sometimes needs to be stoked and tended to brighten and become strong enough to stand up to the ego. This is the gift of mercy. When you show mercy to another, you're saying, I see your light, even if you don't know your own light, and I want to nourish and support that light by acknowledging it and loving that light within you and forgiving your darkness. I see you as the light and not the darkness. I know who you really are. This is what we and other non-physical beings do for you. This is our stance toward you. We know who you are and who you can be. Like any good teacher, we're here to nurture what's strong, courageous, good, and wise within you. And this is how you must be toward others who are not as wise as you, who do not experience their goodness to the extent that you experience yours. This is your job once you've discovered your own goodness, once you've discovered the truth, your true nature. Many of you have come to earth to be this flame of love that will ignite and make stronger the light within others. We're here to support you in this, to fan and tend to your flame. Fire is a good metaphor because fire spreads, and fire, like love, can spread fast. You are our beloveds. If you only knew how much love and care we feel for you and for your planet. We have limitless mercy for you. We are nourished and supported in this way as well by those beyond us. Mercy is the way, as mercy is love and forgiveness. Give this mercy to others as we have given it to you. Forgive and let go of your differences, your conflicts, and your judgments. You do not need them. It only hurts to hold on to them. Mercy is a place of great peace and happiness. As you give it to others, you give yourself this greatest of all gifts, peace and love. Be kind, be understanding, be gracious, as that is what you're receiving on high. Thank you for being open to this message. We are with you always.